One of my favorite love songs ever written is Vie En Rose. This is such a beautiful song, and I had so much fun creating this arrangement. I'm excited to share it with you. So let's start off with a demo, and then we'll move into our tutorial. If you're enjoying this arrangement, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then welcome. I'm Lara. I'm a musician, a composer, and a ukulele teacher, and I hope you have fun exploring my channel, my song tutorials, and my arrangements. Now we're moving into our tutorial, where we'll walk through how to play the more difficult parts of this melody. In addition, I'll also highlight how to count the rhythm for triplets, how to emphasize the melody notes in the arpeggios, and how to play the beautiful harmonics that come at the end. If you'd like to download the full tabs, you can do so from my Patreon page, along with my book of tabs and my songbook covering all of the songs and arrangements that I've shared in my tutorials. You'll find the link down below in the video description. The first thing that I want to highlight is that this arrangement has many triplets in it. So let's take a look at our first measure and how to count it. We're starting off with a C chord, playing an arpeggio through all 4 strings. Then we'll pick the open 4th string, the open 3rd string, and then we're going to pick the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And next we have an arpeggio through all 4 open strings. Then we'll pick the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, then the open 2nd string, and then the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Now this measure consists of 4 triplets, so we're going to count to 3 4 times. I'm going to play through the measure slowly, counting out the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And next I want to point out that there are many arpeggios throughout this arrangement. So each time you see a chord that has a squiggly arrow next to it, that chord is meant to be played as an arpeggio or a broken chord, so that each string rings out individually. All of the arpeggios in this arrangement are played on all 4 strings, so the melody note is always going to be on the 1st string. So you want to try to play that string the loudest. Now let's look at the end of measure 3, moving into measure 4. Our last note in measure 3 is the 2nd fret of the 1st string. I like to play this note with my ring finger, as it makes for a fairly easy transition into our D minor chord that starts measure 4. Then we'll pick strings 4, 3, and 2, and we're finishing measure 4 with a partial G7 chord. I'm going to place my pinky down on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, which is our melody note, and I'm keeping my ring finger in place on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. I've lifted up my index and middle fingers so that the fourth string is open, and for this chord, we'll pick strings 4, 3, and 2 together. Now let's look at the end of measure 11 through measure 16. At the end of measure 11, our last note is the 3rd fret of the 1st string. I'm playing this with my index finger. And then as we move into measure 12, I'm placing down my middle and ring fingers on the 5th fret of strings 2 and 3. Here we'll pick strings 1, 2, and 3 together. And then we'll pick string 2, 3, 2, and 1. In measure 13, we're going to set up our fingers at a diagonal, similar to an E minor chord, but moved up 1 fret. So I have my index finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, my middle finger on the 4th fret of the 2nd string, and my ring finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. I'm also going to place down my pinky on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and this pinky will lift up and down as we move through this measure. So starting with my pinky down, I'm picking the 1st string twice, then I'll pick string 3 and string 2, and then I'm lifting my pinky up to play the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and then I'm repeating that. In measure 14, we're starting with an arpeggio with our melody note on the 5th fret of the 1st string. So to play this arpeggio, I'm using my pinky, then I'm picking the 1st string one more time, then I'm going down to the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and then the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. In measure 15, we're playing the same rhythm and strings as we did in measure 13, but here we have our left hand in a different chord position, so the notes are different. I have my index finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string, my middle and ring fingers on the 3rd fret of strings 3 and 1, and my pinky on the 5th fret of the 1st string. So now we'll play the same pattern that we did in measure 13. And we can start slowing down the tempo at the end of measure 15 into measure 16. In measure 16, we have a bar chord on D minor 7, covering all 4 strings on the 5th fret. If it's helpful, you can use your middle finger against your index finger for additional support. And in this chord, the 1st string is our melody note. So after we play this arpeggio, then we're going to pick the 1st string and then move down to the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And then we're going to move our index finger to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string and our pinky to the 7th fret of the 1st string, picking strings 1 and 2 together. And then we'll place our ring finger down on the 5th fret of the 1st string, playing strings 1 and 2 together once again. Now you can sustain this note for a few seconds. Now I want to highlight the very last measure where we have an arpeggio on a C chord followed by 4 harmonics. To play these harmonics, we'll gently rest our index finger on the string right over the fret, and we're going to pick the string with our thumb a few inches behind our index finger. As soon as we pick the string, we'll lift our index finger up. So our first harmonic is on the 12th fret of the 4th string, then we have the 12th fret of the 3rd string, then the 12th fret of the 2nd string, and then our very last harmonic is on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. If you're feeling generous and you'd like to support my channel, then see the video description for an easy way to buy me a coffee. I hope you enjoy learning my arrangement of La Vie En Rose. Have fun practicing, and thanks for watching.